Salutations!
Welcome to the Film Mages Podcast, where the popcorn is our ammunition, the couch is our foxhole, and the cinema is our place of worship.
Now let me see your war face. Ah!
Well. Here we are. I don't know why I'm breathing so deeply here. Well, you know what? Right out of the gate, hello, everybody. You're listening to the Film Majors.
I'm Zach.
I'm Mick.
I'm Alexis.
And really quickly, I want to promise, actually, my co-host here, Zach, who I'm recording in person with, I am not sick. I might sound sick.
That's a man who's sick.
That's a very promising start to this.
Yeah, I'm not sick, but I did do a lot of screaming since our last recording, and I lost my voice.
Really? What's going on?
It was for the Euros. Yeah, I went to a pub at 7 a.m. and got very drunk.
So
and
funny.
Just the way I don't care about it. I really don't. I'm having fun. But the way they were screaming and chanting and yelling, and 80% of the game was terrible. Like, they're awful. But then they got lucky at like the end, and they found their chutzpah, and they won the game. And I was screaming so much, and so many random strangers and I were hugging, and it was bedlam. But that is why my voice is like this. That was 2 days ago, and I'm still recovering. So it may not hurt to talk, but it might hurt to listen to me. So I do apologize, my co-hosts and my listeners, but it was for a good cause.
His radio voice is down today.
Yeah, what else is new?
Needs
It's always hard to
recharge.
listen to this guy.
I know,
God,
I know.
God's ass. Well, are we the sports majors?
Well, we will be in a way today.
Well, we'll get to that.
That's actually a pretty good segue, but we're not going to do it.
that later. No, we are the film majors. And I saw a new release that came out earlier this year that I missed in theaters. And that was Zelda Williams' Lisa Frankenstein.
Oh,
Lisa
Alexis, you
Frankenstein.
saw this, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, that's about how I felt.
I had a blast, but like, you know, I'd be giggling over silly shit.
Yeah, I think that I liked the production design. I liked Catherine Newton, who played Lisa. I thought she was good.
Yeah.
Wasn't as impressed by Cole Sprouse. And
Coleslaw Sprouse.
I don't know. I think I have a difficult time with Diablo Cody's dialogue. It hits my ear in a bad way a lot of the time.
Interesting.
I'm
So
not
you
big on
didn't-
Juno.
You're not big on Juno, and you're not big on Jennifer's Body then?
Jennifer's Body is the movie of Diablo Cody's that I like the most. I'm not like in love with it like a lot of other people, but that's a very fun movie.
I really like Jennifer's Body, and the movie is really good too.
All right, relax. We're merely a day out of Queer Cinema Month. You cool it.
I can be gay for Megan Fox. It's more of a vibe.
All right. Well, congrats, buddy.
Thank you.
But I saw Lisa Frankenstein, and then I also saw a little movie called Halloween Ends from 2022.
Now that's a disingenuous title because that's never going to end, right?
No, it never ever will. But
Okay.
this particular series of Halloween films has ended, and probably Jamie Lee Curtis's involvement with Halloween has ended. I don't think we're getting another Halloween reboot that has Jamie Lee Curtis in it.
But we are getting a Freaky Friday reboot
we are.
Why
with
not?
Jamie Lee Curtis in it.
But I was not a particularly big fan of the 2018 Halloween. It's kind of like a worst case scenario for like a Lega sequel, where we're basically just remaking the first movie, but not as good. And I skipped Halloween Kills, which I had heard was a much stupider version of Halloween 2, which I already don't like that much.
Halloween Ends. Is this the one where she's in the hospital?
No, that's Halloween Kills, which I skipped.
Okay.
No. Or it's
I can't
Halloween
even tell
2.
the difference.
Which one are you talking about? Is she old in the movie that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then that's Halloween Kills, because she's also in a hospital in Halloween, the original Halloween 2.
I know. I think I've seen most of the original Halloween too.
Yeah. Halloween Ends is the one. How much do we care about having Halloween Ends spoiled for us?
I think it's fine.
We're good.
I will watch it, but I don't care.
I don't think getting things spoiled will detract from our opinions.
Halloween Ends is the one that follows Corey. It's the one where Corey's in the house. And what I mean by this is that Halloween Ends opens with a scene of this babysitter named Corey who's babysitting a kid on the night that Halloween Kills takes place on. And the kid is like fucking with him and is like, oh, Michael kills babysitters. Michael's going to get you. And he locks Corey in the attic of his home. And Corey like is fighting to get the door open to the attic. And he slams the door open, which hits the child who is standing outside of it and absolutely fucking yeets him off of the third story of his home, where he crashes down to earth right as his parents get home, and he fucking dies.
Wow.
So then the whole town is like, oh, Corey's that guy who killed that kid. And he gets off because it was an accident, but like everyone hates this guy. And then he ends up like meeting Michael Myers, who's like gone down into the sewers. And there's kind of like a transference of Michael's essence to Corey. Like they look each other in the eyes and Corey kind of absorbs Michael's evil.
As the Na'vi say, they are one.
They become one. And then it
Flushed Away meets meets
it's
Halloween.
it is like
Exactly.
so
That's how they pitched it.
The John Carpenter movie that this is weirdly kind of a remake of is Christine. Like Corey is costumed like the main kid in Christine, and his relationship to Michael is kind of similar to what is it, Artie? His relationship to Christine. It's a fucking crazy movie. The last 10 minutes kind of become like more standard Halloween, like Laurie versus Michael fare, which is kind of disappointing because taking your third movie in like the fourth Halloween reboot franchise and going, yeah, we've said about all we can say with Michael. It's Corey time. That actually does. That takes some fucking balls. And I appreciated the swing. I'm glad I watched it. I think that movie got a bad rap when it came out.
You've piqued my interest.
Yeah, it's
I
Corey
like,
time.
I like a movie that's bold.
I'm more curious about this movie having heard all of it.
I had absolutely no interest in seeing Halloween Ends until past and future guest Drew was like, I saw Halloween Ends. You want to know what this shit's really about? And I was like, yeah, what? It's about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, as always. And he was like, no. It's about Corey.
Nice. And that's when he adds that.
Listen, I'm America's number one Corey head now. I love Corey.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Why
those
not?
were the movies I watched.
Nice. Well, speaking of me liking movies with bold choices, so I probably will watch that. I also watched another movie that made some very bold choices. I saw Yorgos Lanthimos' Kinds of Kindness. And I really responded well to it. I really, really enjoyed it. It was one of those very odd films that you don't really know how you like it as it's happening. and then probably about immediately after, and you need to sit with it for a while. But I'll be honest with you, for the following day, it just kept getting under my skin, and I kept thinking about how dark it was, but also just how genuinely hilarious it is. I really like his I really like his comedies, his lighter stuff. Like, it's funny to call his stuff lighter, but
The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
well, like A Killing of the Sacred Deer, I wouldn't put as some of his lighter stuff.
I think that's his funniest movie.
I really responded well to Poor Things. I really responded well to Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Favorite. I might have been too young for The Lobster because I didn't enjoy it. I should probably return to it. But these three stories were absolutely fascinating and exploring the lengths at which humans will try to become accepted within groups or by people, and the things that they will do to achieve that love and approval and affection is some really fucked up things, and it also explores different facets of abuse. But I really liked it. I really give it a solid recommendation. I think the second one is my favorite out of the three stories because I just loved the premise of it. I'm not going to say what it was, but I just really responded. I thought that was such a good idea, and it was so funny the way it unfolds.
The second one had my biggest laugh in that movie.
Yeah,
I feel like you probably know.
Yeah, it's Jesse Plemons and Emily Stone are both absolutely fantastic. I remember, Zach, you mentioned that your interest kind of mirrors Jesse Plemons' screen time in the film, and I could totally understand because he's so good.
He's so fucking
He's
good.
so good. But thankfully, I'm not saying you disliked Emily Stone, but I was so enthralled by what she was doing and so entertained by it that
I think she's very good.
my interest was just maintained through the whole thing. Margaret Qualley, she's fantastic.
Margaret.
Yeah, Margaret Qualley is so good. And yeah, I honestly, listeners, check out Kinds of Kindness. It's a fucking weird time. But another movie I saw that's a new release is a movie that I believe Alexis has also seen. A Quiet Place, Day One.
Alexis, why'd you see that? Alexis, what was the draw on that one?
What was the why?
Yeah.
I mean, did you read my review?
No, I didn't, but I feel like I know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Oh, yeah. Well,
I didn't need to read your review, Alexis. I saw the trailer.
Okay, listen. I loved Stranger Things season 4 because I loved Eddie Munson, and as a direct
Munson on
result,
that Munson.
I love Joseph Quinn so much so that I watched this mini series Dickensian off of the British channel or whatever. It's just like it's the BBC. Yeah, the BBC. It was something else though. I was whatever. Anyways, doesn't matter. Watched that whole series just so that I could see him in it. He plays like a little bratty piece of shit, but whatever. My Letterboxd review for A Quiet Place Day One was Joseph Quinn finding my soul animal and then proceeding to follow me around like a puppy dog is actually my apocalypse dream.
Right. Which is exactly what he does in the film.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I as soon as he showed up with these big saddle puppy dog eyes, I was like, yep. I'm like, I'll watch to the end just for this. That's it. That's all I need.
She's a simple person with simple tastes,
I am.
and that's to be respected.
Yeah, God damn it. Give her what she wants. And
Yeah.
it sounds like A Quiet Place Day
And
One did.
The funny thing is, I was watching the film, and I watched all of them, 2 of them. I did a little Quiet Place marathon because I'd never seen the second one before. I watched the first one in theaters when it was first released, and I'll never forget what a fantastic experience that was, where everyone collectively was so afraid to make a sound because that was the effect the movie had on you. And then I remember walking out of the cinema and just being overcome with how fucking loud everything is. I love that. I still consider that one of the best movie experiences I've ever had at a theater. Rewatching it, it still really holds up. That movie's so fucking tight. Second movie is you could take it or leave it. I think they wasted Cillian Murphy a little bit. But the third one, I think, is in the middle. I think it's better than the sequel, and I think it's not as good as the first. Lupita Nyong'o is fantastic in it.
Wow.
I mean, she's really fucking fantastic in it. She's perfect for this.
A billion things just with her eyes.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
She's insane. She's
that's
so
good
good. Oh my
casting.
God. Side note, have you seen her react to the hottest hot wing on Hot Ones?
Yes.
Yes.
That
And it
shit
makes
is
me
so
feel bad.
funny. It made me feel bad, but it was really funny.
Yeah, she that was rest in peace, her tongue. But I did not know that was Joseph Quinn. And here's a problem that I have with this movie is I have seen I have had to endure the trailer for this fucking movie because I am a AMC Stubs member, and every fucking movie.
It is the most marketed movie I'm hearing ever.
Yeah, it's
because even if you are not an AMC Stubs member, I've been home to Oregon a couple of times.
It's playing up there too.
And have watched sporting events with my dad, and it's being advertised like it was advertised like a motherfucker during the Super Bowl.
It's insane, but it's apparently it's paying off because it's making the most money out of any of them so far. But I had seen the trailer so many times, I was sick of it. And again, having now seen the movie, one of my greatest joys about it is knowing I never have to see that trailer again. And yet somehow I kept seeing Joseph Quinn.
Didn't put it together.
I never put it together. And then I'd say about a quarter of the way through the movie, Joseph Quinn makes this kind of angsty, sad face, and it clicked for me.
You put it together.
I put it together. I was
end of the Usual Suspect style.
Oh my God, that's Kaiser Soze, or that's Eddie
dropping
Munson.
your coffee cup in the theater.
Yeah, he's really good too. He can say a lot with his face.
Yeah.
But speaking of Joseph Quinn, have we all seen the new Vanity Fair release set pictures from Gladiator 2?
Yes,
No.
I have.
Joseph Quinn looks like a fucking cunt.
Joseph Quinn's in that movie?
Yeah, he plays
Maybe I
like
didn't
he
see
plays
that.
like one
I
of the
did know that,
emperors.
yeah.
He plays one of
Don't
the
worry,
emperors.
I know everything he's in now.
Yeah, it's like, and
I'm slowly waiting for them to all come out.
Pedro Pascal, he looks fucking fantastic.
Man, that Paul Mescal's looking.
Paul
he's
Mescal,
looking good.
he looks
Look
good.
at that guy. Wow.
Denzel Washington
And-
looks good. And also,
To be
what's
fair-
the name of the actress from the first one? Because she looks amazing. She hasn't aged a fucking day.
Oh, I'm forgetting who
Oh,
that
really?
was.
I don't know who she is.
looks
I don't remember the
gorgeous. It's incredible.
I bet. Yeah.
Take notes, Russell Crowe. Just kidding. We love you.
Hey,
We love you. It's a
I
joke.
love
Dang.
Russell
we
Crowe.
love it. And
Yeah,
he's great.
also, he will hammer you, so don't.
He will
real,
hammer us.
dude.
You will seem a little overwhelmed by his girth and tonnage. Sorry.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
Girth and tonnage. Interesting.
What? Sorry, I just blacked out for 10 seconds.
So that's what's happened with me lately in the film world. But I did have a weird one other thing I'll add. This is not movie related, but it is movie adjacent. It's industry related. I got invited to this lovely meet and greet for the industry types in Bel Air at this beautiful house this past Friday night. Some of the people that I know and have worked with have hosted the event. Blah 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 blah. Free alcohol. Maybe meet someone that will give me work. So I went.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say what the name of the event was, but as I was going, my partner made some jokes saying that, it's kind of funny. It has like this weird culty energy to like the symbol that they provided.
Oh, no.
And it looks like it looks like the eye from the Freemasons that's attached there.
Okay.
Interesting.
And so we get to this house, and immediately it's just like, there's set photographers. They're taking pictures of all the guests, and there's like this scrim that you can stand in front of, and all this bullshit. Very LA, and a beautiful fucking house. And I see my friends there. I'm starting to drink, and I'm looking around, and the artwork is fucking beautiful. It's very, very, very sci-fi. And I'm looking at, and then there's this, and then that's right, folks. It finally happened to a film major. I look at the plaques, and it said, graciously donated by the L. Ron Hubbard Association.
Oh, Nick, you didn't tell me about this? this?
No, I didn't.
I would have dropped whatever I was doing.
Yeah,
I would have shown up
Well,
immediately upon you telling me.
So here's the weird thing.
I want to join up.
All the signs were there because my partner texted a friend who knows she was working the event and said, hey, the tickets don't include the address. Like, where is it? And she sent the address and said, she'd be like, don't give it out. It's like, it's secret. And I get there and all of the L. Ron Hubbard art, and then there's a guest speaker. And so we have to go down into the basement of this house. And so we go down this elevator, and my partner's already like, I really don't like this. Like,
skill
this
issue.
Because we were joking about like, what if this was like a murder party? I was like, oh yeah, A24 will make a movie based on tonight's event like years from now. It'll be like it'll be the Bel Air Amityville Horror. And we get to the basement, and there is a projector that says how to start a cult, but it was like all jokey, like how to start.
They love to joke about
how to start a cult following is what it was. And then they started having there's completely pretentious guest speaker that had his head up his ass about all the celebrities that he's worked with and all the millions of dollars that he's made people. It's basically a pyramid scheme. And he finally shows a video. Don't you
dare talk about his sincerely held religious beliefs like that, man.
He shows this video of someone that was had severe epilepsy that had gotten a video from a celebrity that he knew and had given like a goodbye note. And she's like crying and sobbing. And my partner like grabs me and says, we are leaving. And so we left a little early. But, well, the thing was, I was so fascinated by it.
I would have stayed.
I was so fascinated because this guy would say the most pretentious bullshit. And then there would be people listening that'd go, wow.
Do you?
My man.
Do you remember when we all saw Barbarian and you guys were like, oh yeah, we'd absolutely go down the stairs because we're curious?
Alexis.
You would stay long enough just to hear because you're curious about what you're seeing.
That's what their marketing is.
Yeah.
The Church of Scientology. Curious.
Yeah, no,
there
that's
are billboards like that all over LA.
And the thing, Alexis, what's so funny about that is literally today, as you know, I'm uploading all our old episodes to YouTube. Today I was editing the Texas Chainsaw double feature that we did last year, which is exactly the same episode that you were talking about, how Zach and I would absolutely go down into the basement because there's nothing to worry about. It's just a bed and a camera and a bucket. And that's what I thought would be down there, but there was actually just culty pyramid scheme. So that's right, film majors. I've been living in LA for almost 4 years, and I finally got into a Scientology pad.
Fuck yeah! Oh, you're moving up in this industry, buddy.
I'm moving up.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Oh, that's
incredible.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely would have stayed because I went into a Scientology center in Portland one time, and like had them show me and my friends like their whole like video and stuff. I was in high school at the time.
Nice.
And then like all credit to my friend Owen, because the guy like came back in after they showed us the video and was like, so do you guys have any questions? And Owen was like asking this guy questions, and the best I could do was like, nod, because I was fighting down, just losing my mind laughing.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
I like the intro video they show you at a Scientology center is like comedy fucking gold. It's so good. We've been talking about engrams for years. Anyways, I'm very jealous of this, Mick. I'm so fucking jealous. That's awesome.
I will say that at the end of the day, the alcohol was free. So I guess in a way I did
Open
drink
bar?
the Kool-Aid.
LOL.
And it tasted cheap. Alexis.
Yes.
Yes.
Saw The Secret Garden. I was, to be honest, curious about it. I know that my vocal teacher was going to be doing the vocal coaching for that musical so there's the movie that came out in 1993, but there was a Broadway musical, I believe, that came out in 1991. Roger Rocca's The Music Hall here in Fresno is going to be doing Secret Garden September to like November. And so I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious about it. I had the opportunity to like maybe audition for that a couple months ago, but I was I was out of town that whole weekend for like the audition and the callback. So I was like, whatever. But then I had my music recital this weekend. This is all a roundabout way to tell you that I'm in a musical now. We start rehearsals in a few weeks. I did not have to audition, only because they don't have enough people for the full ensemble.
Only because you're LA Alexis Avitia.
Yeah, that's.
And you're a hot commodity.
I think we're reading between the lines. We think that's what you're really saying.
Yeah, we're hearing that this podcast has made you a star.
I'm telling you the story of how I got in, which is that my music recital was on Saturday, and everybody else that is in. So my teacher, he's like does vocal coaching. He also is in a lot of musicals there at the music hall, and a lot of his students are in like other Roger Rocca's performances. So they did all like musical theater stuff. I did 2 opera arias, and the guy who's the creative director of the music hall, and then of course the theater that I've done a couple shows at, he was there along with my director of Amadeus. And when I did O mio babbino caro, which is like a Italian song from an opera, he loved it so much. I saw him during intermission. He was like, that really touched me. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. And one of my friends who I was in Amadeus with was like, hey, there's not like enough people for the ensemble in Secret Garden. If you're interested, you should totally just like ask them if you can be in it. And I was like, okay, yeah. So then I just asked Dan. And then of course he stayed, because there was intermission. And then we did the second part, and I did this one called Monica's Waltz. And at the end, he was like, oh, I'll let you know if Biz, the director, says that that's okay, or if she wants you to audition or anything. So he just texted me today to be like, oh yeah, you can just come and pick up your music and the script and your schedule and everything, because I've worked with Biz on A Christmas Carol.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah,
congratulations.
So I'm gonna be in a musical.
Wow. What is it again? What's the musical?
The Secret Garden.
The Secret Garden.
Okay, so that's why you watched the movie.
It is not why I watched the movie.
Not why
I actually watched the movie before I even knew that I was going to be in that musical.
No shit.
But now I know the story. But no, there's certain songs that are like legit soprano songs, and there's a song in that I was looking at for like my repertoire. And so I was like, oh, I should just like watch the movie. I'm sure it'd be cute. If I had been a child when I first watched this movie, I would have fucking loved this movie. It's like one of those like lonely kids find joy and beauty in the freedom of the outdoors.
Yes, I watched it when I was very young. I don't remember it super well.
Yeah, I mean, like, the 2 of the kids are like, oh my God, like kind of bitchy and spoiled, but like that's fucking kids sometimes, especially when they're a little privileged, so, yeah. Or a lot privileged. But good cinematography. I mean, for it being mostly child actors and Dame Maggie Smith, for it being mostly child actors, I think they did a really good job. And I'm kind of excited to see what the musical is like versus the movie. I always find adaptions to be very interesting. So,
cool. Indeed.
Wow.
Well, nice. Well, the audience will be waiting with bated breath for Alexis's stage, not debut, but return.
The return to the
musical
stage.
Debut, though. I've never been in a musical before, so wow. I've been in some operettas, but I've never been in an actual musical. So
you've been in musical March before.
I have been in musical March before.
What a time that was!
I've been throwing musicals at you guys for as long as I can remember now.
You're damn right.
I did also see Maxine already.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, Alexis,
okay.
how'd that happen?
Well, I went to the world premiere last Monday.
Wow.
For the cast and crew screening.
Alexis, how'd that happen?
because that's the movie I worked on last year.
Wow.
Kept that one pretty quiet, Alexis.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, I was like, I wasn't sure if my name was actually going to be in the credits or not. And then they were. And I was like, wow, that's fucking crazy.
That's so cool.
There's just something special about seeing your name in movie credits. You know, like when you see them, you're just like, wow, that's me.
Yeah.
A girl from Fresno in a movie credit. Wild. Yeah. So I will say, since our episode comes out, this is why I wanted to wait. Our episode comes out the day that it actually premieres in theaters. That everybody worked really hard. The costumes and hair and makeup is great, fucking incredible. So at the very least, I think that you will all love the look of the film. I don't really believe on like saying anything about movies that I work on, so everybody take whatever they want from the movie. But I would definitely say, like, you know, if you love the first two movies, like at least complete the trilogy. You know, Mia's fucking phenomenal in everything she does. So
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, that has me a little nervous.
I'm intrigued. I've heard rumblings.
Okay.
But
I haven't heard anything. That's actually the first thing I have heard, which is that if you've seen the first two, you might as well complete the trilogy.
Contextually, you know how much that the three of us loved X and Pearl.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
they're
Those are my
very
top picks.
concise. And, you know, I think that, you know, when you just... Making a trilogy is really hard, right? Making a movie is really hard, right? You know? I think that no matter what, X and Pearl are always going to be my favorite, and X is always going to be my favorite, you know? X is always going to be my favorite. I like Pearl a little less than X, you know? And so that just is what it is. But it looks great. It sounds good. And yeah, it was exciting. I'm going to go see it again, though.
Mick's having a panic attack.
I'm going to go see it again, though, because I feel like I can't decide how exactly I feel about it.
Yeah, that's
yet,
fair.
So.
I will also say, I think that all of us have had the experience of movies that we've worked on.
Yeah.
It's harder to,
It's hard to
at least for
remove
me,
yourself.
it's harder to enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's like you've seen all the places where everything is, and you also like sometimes read the script ahead of time, so you know everything that's
Right.
going to happen. So nothing's surprising. So then it's like, I don't know, it's almost surreal to watch the actual movie because it feels like bits and pieces instead of one whole theme.
Okay.
If that makes sense, you know?
Well,
Yeah, that
you're,
makes complete
You're thinking
sense.
of like where you were in relation
Yeah.
to this scene, especially if you're on set.
Or
like, at least for me.
Yeah.
When I watch stuff I've worked on, I kind of what I think you're describing, Alexis, is I have these very specific, I wouldn't say high, but very specific contextual expectations of just like, this is what I remember the takes being, this is what I remember it being like, and then when you see it kind of come together, you're just kind of, that's not what I thought, or that's exactly what I thought. You know, it's like, it's kind of this weird thing where I have yet to be on a film and then I watch the film and be absolutely blown away by it. And that might just be the issue of having been a crew member on it.
I think so. Because I mean, the thing that I don't know, like for me, I worked really closely with because I was the COVID coordinator. And so I worked with a lot of the background and, you know, when they come to like their background fittings and stuff. So for me, the experience was like super joyful because I got to hang out at like a costume house on like the really big background fitting days. And then of course, like I got to see them again. I always get really friendly with like the people, you know, when I meet them and stuff. So, you know, it's nice to like see somebody and then they're like, oh, I remember you, blah, 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 you know. Also, can I just say, and I mean this not in any like disrespectful way, but the guy who works at the military fitting section of the costume house area, wow. who, I won't say your name because I feel like that's like wrong, but wow, you are so cute. And every single time that we had military fittings, I was just like, you look incredible. I'm so happy to see you.
This is literally such a perfect segue into hopping out.
He's an ex-Marine.
Yeah, I think we gotta do it.
Because a lot of those guys
or
a lot of the people who work in the military fitting areas of the costume house are all like ex-military.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Okay. We're gonna hop out
with that.
What's going on?
With that, what's going on?
We're gonna hop out of.
We missed
what's
what's
going on.
Okay,
I said that and you talked over me.
So let's hop out of what's going on.
We're already out of it.
Are we?
Play the music
where are we?
like 5 times.
We're into.
Where are we right now? Are we still in what's going on?
No, we're out of what's going on.
How do I know this isn't just propaganda?
Oh my god, great work, buddy. This is our first big topic of Blockbuster Month. Cue the explosions.
Fantastic. I am so fucking happy that Blockbuster Month is back.
I'm overjoyed. I feel like Queer Cinema Month finished out on a real strong note.
Good month.
Or did it finish out?
Well, we won't know for sure. Actually, we'll never know, really.
Yeah.
That's the true answer to that. But yeah, I love blockbusters. I love summer movie season. I don't actually love when it gets really hot out, but when it does get really hot out, it's great to like meet your friends, go to a cinema, get into a dark room, nice and AC cooled, and watch some big spectacle films that are there to absolutely tickle your underbelly.
Now, what is a blockbuster? Well, according to dictionary.com, a thing of great power or size, in particular a movie, book, or other product that is a great commercial success.
Nice. Or sliders. Never mind.
All right. We're talking about big successful films.
Yes.
And our first big topic of Blockbuster Month are propaganda films.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk. I pitched this because I don't think we've ever covered it.
No, I don't believe so.
I want to talk about propaganda. I want to talk about movies disguised, or propaganda disguised as movies. And I want us to list some of our favorite examples of like movies that satirize it, or just some of our guilty pleasures that we know this is propaganda, but we absolutely adore it. Or if you want to just absolutely call some fuckers out, what are some of the most egregious examples of propaganda that should not maybe be celebrated? You guys choose. Take it away. Anyone want to start this?
All right. Well, I will talk about a film, and I don't really have the cultural context to totally understand why this is propaganda.
This was going to be my pick, too.
But RRR, SS Rajamouli's 2022 absolute fucking action banger, has been pretty widely derided by a lot of Indian people as kind of Hindu nationalist propaganda.
Yeah.
I don't fully get why. Just because that's not a culture that I really know enough about.
And you're not saying you don't know why, as in like you disagree.
No, I don't. I don't disagree. Yeah. I don't have the knowledge base. But I've read things from enough critics, either from India or of Indian descent, who are like, this movie's like getting celebrated to this degree is kind of troubling, because it stands for some pretty fucked up stuff.
Yeah, I believe and I had, this makes me feel ignorant to say, but I wasn't really knowledgeable of what was really happening there politically and religiously speaking, since Dev Patel's Monkey Man came out. And I was doing some reading online about what that movie's kind of representing and how it was kind of critiquing the Hindu national government, the way it persecutes Muslims and trans people and queer people. And then an article mentioned that there's so much propaganda for this Hindu national movement, and a classic example is RRR. And I did a double take going, what? That's propaganda.
What?
And then I was reading the examples, and I'm like, of listing why RRR is propaganda, and like some of the imagery, excuse me. And I can absolutely see like, oh yeah, no, this is propaganda. But see, my problem is I was watching this as like, yeah, fuck the British. And I was like, okay, this is propaganda that I think is like pretty radical and kind of cool to see that all these Indian folk, all these people of color are just having a movie that's just so much like anti-colonialism. I think that's really cool. I can get behind that. The whole other aspect of the Hindu nationalism, I did not pick up on because I didn't have context, but that's a great example.
Yeah.
And a great movie.
It does own. That's the problem, is that movie does fuck.
It kind of, again, I thought that was a bit of a slap to the face of Hollywood blockbusters of being like, guys, you remember? Do you remember how to do it? Because we know how to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know how to do it? Yeah, great movie, and possibly greatly controversial.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Alexis, do you have a pick?
I had a hard time thinking about this because I'm like, I was like, I don't know if I've seen enough military movies to be like, yeah, or if I've just, all of the military movies I've seen feel anti-war, or if I have just drinking the Kool-Aid of those specific military movies. So I'm like, I don't know, but also Mission Impossible don't at least a couple of those feel like they kind of count a little bit?
No.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
It's kind of tough to say. Like, in some ways, it's like, yeah, I guess, like propping up the intelligence apparatus. But also, I don't know. I think the more they've gone on, particularly Dead Reckoning, feels like pretty deeply
it's
like
anti-government, anti-establishment.
That's like a genuinely like paranoid movie. Like, that is a movie that genuinely does not trust the U.S. government.
And why would you?
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
They're propaganda films for maybe a certain man.
Yeah.
But
which we'll
I don't know if they're necessarily government propaganda, at least
I'm still,
especially in the world of action movies.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I don't watch enough action movies. Maybe that's my problem.
That is kind of one of your big problems.
That is one of the
I think that's like one of my major blind spots in like the film industry. It's just
funny.
Like the lack of action.
I've had
sexually
people
and otherwise.
I've had people in this industry that listen to our podcast that have asked me like, what is wrong with Alexis? And I always go, she doesn't watch enough action movies. That's always my answer.
People always be asking that. They say, this Alexis, she's so horny and she hates action movies. I'm like, yes, these are the two things about her.
I think a good pick for a movie Alexis, I know you've seen because you had a tremendous date night, is Black Hawk Down. That is a military movie.
But I haven't seen the movie. I saw like maybe the first 5 minutes of the movie. And then I was mostly probably looking at my ceiling. I don't know.
Well, now you know how those soldiers felt that fell in the field.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
I mean, that's like,
dude. Happy 4th of July.
That's
everyone.
right. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Fuck 4th of July. I fucking hate that holiday.
Why do you hate the holiday? It's our birthday.
USA.
Okay, here, I'm literally like tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to make a post on my Instagram story that is like, be fucking for real. Don't be the reason that some kid loses their family pet this weekend. Don't be a dick. Only shoot off fireworks during the designated time. because growing up, I had multiple dogs get out of the yard as a kid and end up either getting run over, or one of our dogs got like hit with like, I think like somebody hit her either with a car or a bat or something, because she was like a big, like kind of pit bull looking dog. So I don't like the holiday because I swear to God, so many times after the holiday was over, I was just fucking crying because either I didn't have an animal or anymore, or like we had to go look for them. And let me tell you, going to look for a dog at the SPCA and then having to be like, oh yeah, there's your dead dog right there. Is this it? And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Thank you. And then go have a panic attack in the car, you know? Not my favorite. Don't be that fucking dick fuck who is shooting off like fucking fireworks like all fucking week. No one likes it. No one's animals like it.
Mick likes it a little bit.
I do like the
Mick
fireworks
likes it a little bit.
I do like the
I
fireworks.
told my sister, if I have to hear even one fucking Piccolo Pete on 4th of July, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
I am going to err more on the side of be fucking careful with your fireworks this year, because when I was leaving the 4th of July party I went to last year, I got fucking hit with a firework in my shin. One bounced off the ground and just fucking like burned my shin. And yeah, like people were just fucking like lighting them off in the street in like just like massive fucking fireworks. So be a little fucking careful. Be a little conscientious.
I
feel like
I was the kid that made Piccolo Pete bombs as a kid.
Like I love some fireworks, but I would light them off. I would go with past and future guest Jake Sabat and his dad and light off illegal fireworks from Idaho in like a pretty like empty space,
Right.
like not in the middle of a fucking neighborhood.
Right.
I mean, I feel like I didn't stop. Like, I don't think I realized how much I didn't like 4th of July until I didn't do 4th of July for like 3 years in a row because I was going camping with my friends in Ruth Lake in Humboldt. And we do that for every 4th of July while I was living up there. And then the year after I had moved away. And you're not allowed to shoot fireworks off up there because, you know, it could cause a fire.
Right.
And it's so peaceful.
Yeah, you notice how much your life
so
improved.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. Have we seen any other propaganda films?
So obviously, I want to shout out one of my favorite examples of propaganda satire is Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
that is a movie that might be
that movie.
That movie might be the thickest like propaganda film I've ever seen, but on purpose. And satirizing it, and just like it was a movie that people didn't get at first.
Yeah, people were like, "Do they not know these guys look like Nazis?" And it's like, no,
they know.
They know.
Yeah, the director who grew up in Nazi-occupied Holland is probably aware
yeah,
of
he
that.
might have a fucking clue what he's up to.
Yeah, that's a movie that is kind of like it's funny, it's entertaining, it's action packed. The special effects are great. Michael Ironside says they sucked its brains out, which again we get to see a little bit of him later today. But it's kind of hard to watch sometimes. Like especially the ending bums me the fuck out.
Yeah, the ending is extremely fucking disturbing.
But that's the point though.
Yeah, you are watching a fascist propaganda film.
Yeah. So I think that's one of my favorite picks of a movie that absolutely is critiquing propaganda by being propaganda.
Well, I think that movie is a pretty good transition point.
I actually have one more. That's
one's...
It's a better transition point.
Oh, well,
I have a better transition point.
Oh, wait. I do have one note.
Okay.
I read somewhere that the people who did like Silence of the Lambs, they collaborated with the FBI because they wanted to get more people, especially women, to join the FBI. Do you know if that's true? Zach, you're very into the Silence of the Lambs. Is that true?
I'm not sure.
Zach, is that true?
That's probably something they had to... Yeah, they probably had to at least collaborate with the FBI to like use certain like imagery and gear. I feel like that's often true of like military films in general. And I do know that did have like an effect on FBI recruiting. which would also be a really good transition point.
Fuck you both. A movie that I really, really enjoy, that Zach, I know you don't love, is Michael Bay's Transformers. Now, that is a movie that is propaganda in a multitude of ways. One, you can consider it as advertising for a fucking product. Like, that is a movie that is there to sell toys. But it is also there, those young 10, 11, 12-year-old boys that are playing with their trucks are also seeing in Transformers a lot of military action. And in the behind the scenes, because I grew up watching that movie a lot, I grew up watching behind the scenes a lot, Michael Bay is talking about and is bragging about how the U.S. Pentagon will always work with me and will give me their tanks and give me their jets, and I will be able to shoot at their bases, and I will be able to use as much of their machinery as I want in my movies, because there's one very important reason: I make them look good. I make them look good at their job. They will save the day. And that, unless Alexis, I think is my transition into today's film.
I think it's an excellent transition, but as a side note, I went through every single movie that I have ever rated on Letterboxd, and when I tell you the only thing that was on there that could have mildly even been in this category is Saving Private Ryan. Wow.
Which absolutely counts.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, like, it's definitely like one of the last like movies. Well, no, one of the last eras of U.S. military where they were really truly seen as the good guys, and I think
maybe
it really
the only
plays
time
that
we
shit
ever
up.
were the good guys.
Yeah, the Pentagon awarded Steven Spielberg an award for that movie. But yes, so we are kicking off Blockbuster Month with 1986's seminal fucking classic, Top Gun, directed by Tony Scott and starring the one, the only Tom Cruise. Now, if you somehow have managed to avoid this movie for most of your life, that is impressive. So buckle up, strap in, and put the cockpit above your head, because we are about to send off exactly what it's about. So, the Top Gun Naval Fighter Weapons School is where the best of the best train to refine their elite flying skills. When hotshot fighter pilot Maverick, Tom Cruise, is sent to the school, his reckless attitude and cocky demeanor put him at odds with the other pilots, especially the cool and collected Iceman, Val Kilmer. But Maverick isn't only competing to be the top fighter pilot, he's also fighting for the attention of his beautiful flight instructor, Charlotte Blackwood, played by Kelly McGillis.
Kelly McGillis.
Oh, Kelly McGillis. Sorry,
Kelly.
not Carrie McGillis.
Blew it right at the end.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Top Gun.
Top Gun.
So, I'd like to preface this with just a little behind-the-scenes thing about Blockbuster Month. I feel like there are certain months where different pairings of your favorite film majors will kind of silo themselves off and have little chats about, what do we want to do with this month? I think Musical March. There was, some might say, some collusion between myself and Alexis, talking about, Mix maybe had too easy of a time this month. Maybe, we should kick things up a notch. We should ratchet things up. This is a month where Mick and I, for several months,
For
have
a while,
talked about what we want to do. And recently, I came to the realization that despite him maybe being our most invoked actor on this podcast, we have never discussed a Tom Cruise movie.
Insane.
Just so tragic.
We have never once done like a main feed, like this is the movie that this episode is about.
Yeah.
For a Tom Cruise film.
So crazy. That's crazy.
And Mick, credit to you.
Yeah.
For picking the film that kicked off Tom Cruise movie star, like truly to another level. Because like he was, Risky Business had come out at this point and kind of put him on the map.
Yeah.
All the Right Moves was, I think, the movie that got him this movie, which as you'll be told in Scream, if you pause it at the right moment, you can see his penis.
Oh, I'm literally wearing my Scream shirt right now.
There it
Hell
is.
yeah.
Nice. That's a good shirt.
But this is the movie that made him like the box office juggernaut leading man that he has been for the past 40 years.
I have heard secondhand stories of people that go off and travel internationally, and they'll go to some pretty remote places, and there might be like a little hut, a little kiosk where they're selling stuff to people showing up, and they'll have aviators. And I've heard people say that then when they grab the aviators to sell them to you, they go, "Sunglasses, Tom Cruise. Like, this movie took the world over. Like, it absolutely sent him into the stratosphere. And also, another great... this is a great pick to start off Blockbuster Month for a multitude of reasons. One, because we've never covered Tom Cruise. And we're going to come up on our 100th episode soon. And it would behoove us to cover the greatest movie star, living movie star.
We're on 93.
It's 93.
That's crazy.
We're counting down. Also... Happy 4th of July. Is there any more red, white, and blue film that you can think of other than Top Gun?
Haven't covered.
That we have not covered? And then lastly, why should Pride Month be relegated to just 1 month when we can have it do a gentle, sweat-filled locker room spillover into Blockbuster Month?
There's nothing I love more than two men talking gently to each other. That's gonna make me hard. Don't tease me.
Don't tease me.
So
love those two lines right towards the beginning.
right into it. Let's go around. Alexis, how was this watch of Top Gun for you? Because we've all seen this movie probably at least a couple times before this.
And as well, what does the movie mean to you? What's your history with it?
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm like, I know that I've seen the movie all the way through, but I wonder how often I've actually sat down to watch the movie all the way through. I just know that, like, when this movie came out, my dad was all over it, but obviously I wasn't born yet, but, like, growing up, I just, like, I knew that, like, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Tom Cruise were, like, my dad's dudes, those were his actors. Those were his superstars, and Top Gun was one of those movies that he was like, hell fucking yes. It got him like so jazzed. I think I've told you guys before, my dad used to race cars when he was like a teenager. And, my mom has literally like said before that she thought of him as being very Maverick-like, as in just like, he just had this like natural affinity for like, just like, like my dad, like, I don't know. I've always found it very impressive when somebody can just like, because my dad's a gardener, I've always seen him just like fucking back that trailer into like the craziest places, like a full truck and then a trailer in the back. And then he just knows like how to maneuver it, but but it's just like this effortlessness. And my mom has always said that like when he was young, there was something that was very Maverick-like about him. And I've always found that very interesting. So I've always kind of thought of my dad as like very close with this movie.
That is the sexiest thing I've ever heard Dolores say.
Man, I want to meet your dad now.
Of which there are many, but that takes the cake.
God.
But that saying my husband is very Maverick-like, Jesus.
No. I think it's an even better compliment because they've been divorced for longer than they were married now. Yeah. And she still says that about him to this day. Wow. She says that when he was young. Mm-hmm.
That's like Ethan Hunt. Whereas, like, I love him to death, but, like, we can't be together because he will always...
Oh, my God, don't say that.
Stop romanticizing Alexis's parents,
He will always know that there's duty to be done.
Jesus Christ.
He's actually married to the game.
Second part of the question. Alexis, how did this Top Gun viewing treat you?
Well, I made sure to see. I literally, like, at 10 p.m. at night, went over to my sister's house to go watch this after my nephew's birthday party. I was like, I really want to watch Top Gun with you. Let's lay down and watch this. And, you know, we just had a ball. You know, we know the movie, like, pretty well. You know, there was, like, a couple parts where I was like, have I ever, like, seen this part? I don't know. But in general, just, like, I'm so familiar with it that I can just, like, kind of joke through it, but still, like, pay attention and kind of, like, appreciate and take notes and stuff. It's so 80s with, like, the soft lighting. It's so, I don't know. I just love movies that are like that, you know? And also, I will say that one of the bar scenes that they're in, that looks very similar to the bar that is in the sequel. That's the lighting that I want in the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
This very soft, diffuse lighting in the bar that literally looks exactly like the bar in the sequel. That was the lighting that I wanted. The one that's in the 1980s movie is the one that should have been in the sequel. That should have diffused some of that fucking shit.
Mick.
Yeah.
I assume this was a big movie for you.
You know what? Weirdly, no. So this is my history. I was not as lucky as Alexis Avitia. I did not grow up in a Tom Cruise house. My father, not a Tom Cruise fan. He's not a big fan of macho stuff. He's more of a fan of he likes people that make fun of the macho guys. You know, he's more of a comedian type. He doesn't fuck with Mel Gibson. He doesn't like his movies. He doesn't fuck with Tom Cruise. He doesn't like his movies. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like guys that take themselves seriously. Because maybe he doesn't take himself seriously. Maybe there's something in that. But we won't unpack that here.
I'm fucking coming for Mark.
I love my dad. Anyways, I actually feel quite proud that I have become such a big Tom Cruise fan and Top Gun fan of my own. Like, I kind of had to discover this shit on my own. And now, my mom is a Navy brat. She grew up living base to base, and so I think she was probably the one that introduced this movie to me. And I think she shares kind of a similar thing with you to Alexis, where she loves kind of the cheesiness of it, the slickness of it, the perfection of the movies of this era from the 80s, whether they are of quality or not. That's a whole nother debate. But I did not grow up with it. I might have seen it when I was really young. I don't remember, but I really did not come to appreciate this film until I was probably, I don't know, my 20s. I mean, and that's a funny thing. I don't have like a distinct memory of, oh my God, this was the day I discovered Top Gun. I think I just saw bits and pieces of it, clips here and there, until one day I decided to watch it all together, and oh my God, it's so gay and it's so cool and it's radical. And so my latest watch just reaffirmed all of that, because Top Gun it's odd, because there are movies that you see that you adore, and then time goes on and then you don't really think about them. You don't really, it doesn't stay with you. And usually that's the mark of maybe not the best film. And then, you'll rewatch it and you'll go, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't hold up the way it did the first time for some reason. Maybe you were just in a good headspace, whatever. Top Gun is a little different. Top Gun is a movie where I'll have seen it a while ago. I don't really think about it that much. And then, I don't know, just something happens in me where I'll remember something like, oh yeah, that scene's really great, or they did that really well. And I'll put it on and I'll watch it and I'll think, oh my God, this movie is better than I remember it. And I've had that happen to me quite often, where I'll see it, I'll kind of forget about it, I'll watch it again, and I'll think, fuck, man, this movie deserves more credit, which is crazy to say because it's one of the most popular movies ever made. But my latest rewatch, I adored it. It's so much fun. I honestly think, it's schmaltzy, but it's a genuinely good film. Like, I like the story. I like the stakes. I like the trajectory.
I have many things to say about that. Zach, you give your side of the story here, because I have something else to give context for this.
Okay, so I'll keep it kind of brief. I watched Top Gun for the first time in probably middle school. I think we got it on VHS from Goodwill. I watched it on my mom and dad's ancient like box TV from, maybe the early 90s. And I didn't I thought it was fine. But I think as a kid and kind of as an adult too, I'd kind of been like, Top Gun's a weird action movie because it's not really an action movie. There are, spectacular shots of planes flying and there are a couple of dogfights, but largely it's like this kind of schmaltzy sports drama about competing to see who can fly the planes fastest, as well as a barely sublimated gay romance between Maverick and Iceman. And I watched Top Gun Maverick when it came out, and I was like, oh, well, this is clearly the better film. The story is there's a lot more character work being done here. There's more emotional weight to Maverick. This was such a good rewatch for me.
Yeah.
This was
I was
such
how did it change for you?
Fucking good rewatch of Top Gun for me. I watched it last night. I watched Mixed Blu-ray, which is a gorgeous remaster of this movie. And I've been watching a couple of Tony Scott movies I hadn't seen before this year. I watched Beverly Hills Cop 2, and I watched his reboot of The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. And both of those movies, I'm just like, these look so good.
Yeah.
These are gorgeous movies. And Top Gun is maybe more beautiful than both of them. Just contrasting the opening shots where Top Gun Maverick is essentially recreating the helicarrier sequence from the opening of Top Gun, where you hear the score and then it goes right into Danger Zone. It doesn't. It's not a movie that looks bad, but it doesn't hold a fucking candle to a Tony Scott movie. The only dude who makes movies that look comparable to a Tony Scott movie is Michael Bay. Yeah. And I find it so funny that he doesn't often list Tony Scott as one of his primary influences, which is so
hilarious.
Funny
it's
because
hilarious.
Tony Scott is the proto Michael Bay. Yeah. They are so similar between the sorts of highly energetic kind of roided up action movies they make and the gorgeous coming from a commercial background golden hour cinematography that's in all of their movies.
The motion.
And this movie, it's so fun. I love that the stakes are nothing. I genuinely the stakes are so much lower in this, and I actually prefer that because I like getting to fucking hang out with these guys. And I love that hard-on comment, Alexis. It's hysterical.
It's great.
It is very funny. It really sets the tone for the camaraderie of the movie.
Can I make just a little confession here?
Sure.
So I took a lot of notes on this movie.
Okay.
And a big part of that is because I wrote down every time I heard something that sounded a little gay, and I cannot read all of the quotes because we will be here until midnight. But I'd just like to, about 5 minutes in, he's coming right on my tail. Just stay on my wing. I'll take you all the way in. Your ego is writing checks your body can't cash. You need to be doing it better and cleaner than the other guy. I'd like to bust your butt, but I can't. This gives me a hard-on. Don't tease me. Whose butt did you kiss to get in here? The list is long but distinguished. So is my Johnson.
Slider.
You have to have carnal knowledge of a lady this time on the premises. Maverick and Goose talking to each other. You look great tonight, but don't be late again. Thanks, dear. He's on our tail, coming hard. I want somebody's butt. I want it now. I've had it. God damn it, I want some butts.
Yeah, it's...
That wasn't even half of them.
Yeah, this movie is so steeped in the machismo. It's kind of like the horseshoe curve, where it's like we're so straight that we're just grabbing each other's sweaty bodies. It is so homoerotic. But Zach, I'm glad you brought up the fact of Tony Scott, because Tony Scott is one of my favorite filmmakers, honestly, because I look at some of the movies he's done. And I'm such a big fan of so many. And not only have we never covered a Tom Cruise movie, we've never covered a Tony Scott film until today. And I'm so happy that we have, because Tony Scott, like, I watched some of the behind the scenes, the making of, and obviously one of the main jokes or just the running theory behind this is that this whole movie is about Maverick fighting with his sexuality. Why is this movie seem so homoerotic if the writers themselves claim that was absolutely not their intention? They're unequivocal about it.
Yeah.
They are unequivocal. This is not a gay film. This is not a gay text.
You know whose attention it might have been? Tony Scott. Yeah. So during pre-production, I guess, and he had finally agreed to sign on to the movie, because I think he mentioned that, he didn't want to do it because he wanted to make it Apocalypse Now, but on an aircraft carrier. He wanted to make like an anti-war film because
Interesting.
He had only made one even remotely successful feature,
The Hunger.
The Hunger, which I really want to see. It's a vampire film with fucking David Bowie. And he saw this picture book of a bunch of beautiful, gorgeous, sculpted male models. And he loved kind of the voyeurism of it. And he showed some executives like, this is the look I'm thinking. This is the look I'm thinking of. And it's just like these like Greek god statuesque, like mostly naked boys just posing together. And honestly, like those clips that you see, like the photographs, look so much like, it's almost like he told the actors in the locker room scenes to like hold your body like this. Yes, that's it.
That's so funny. Every time I was looking at them in the locker scenes, I was just like, are you guys purposely posing like Adonis or like Michael, like the Greek statues? I was just like, why are you holding that in that way?
Yeah, and honestly, my
on purpose.
My partner made a really good point. She's like, well, part of why this feels so gay, and of course she was referring to
because it's performative.
The infamous volleyball scene. And yes, it is very performative, but also it is so much viewed through the male gaze. This is how men see
themselves.
Other men. This is how they see themselves.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely the male gaze.
So telling of who my dad is as a person, because if I have never once told my dad that this is like the most iconic homoerotic movie, because I don't even want to have that conversation with him. I don't want to get into it, but it is. And it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart, that this movie is so close to him, and yet it's so homoerotic. I'm like, being kind of homophobic, it makes me so happy that one of your favorite movies is basically men just like loving on each other all oiled up and shit, It
is literally, I watched a good chunk of the behind the scenes of this. Tony Scott, like, discussing the volleyball scene, just goes, I had no idea what I was shooting other than soft porn.
Yeah, he said soft porn.
This scene was...
It's shot exactly like soft porn.
This scene was voted the most favorite film scene from any movie by Suck Magazine for 3 years in a row.
I bet.
Which, honestly, again, this proves that Tony Scott absolutely knew what he was doing with this movie. He knew exactly what he was doing. Zach, as you mentioned before, like the needle drops.
They played the goddamn song "Playing with the Boys" during the volleyball scene.
And I'm not saying like Tony Scott knew what he was doing by making like a queer film, but he knew what he was doing with making a perfect popcorn film. Because it's absolutely all about how it just makes you feel. Like just seeing these sweaty men, how does that make you feel? Well, Suck Magazine loved it. Or when you have this weird car chase with the Carmen Gia and the motorbike, and it's all silhouette that looks straight out of a Michael Bay movie. It's insane that Michael Bay doesn't credit that shit.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's never brought up Tony Scott, but like, Spielberg is kind of the big filmmaker who he's brought up as an influence, which is funny to me because they're really not very alike.
Yeah,
and like Spielberg is known for shooting big, long, perfect oneers, and Jesus, I sound like I'm fucking describing Rick Rousevich's Johnson.
That's right,
but. Michael Bay is much more like very kinetic, quick cuts and like perfect framing. And that's Tony Scott.
Tony Scott is so known for just moving the camera. Everything is about kinetic energy. You're looking into that beautiful sunset with the silhouette and the lights. I mean, it's just so fucking beautiful. And like, honestly, I love that he says that this movie, you know what, this, like, when people were like really thinking about like their character, or they would get like the script and it's like super fucking thin, and he's like, guys, we're just making rock and roll. This is a rock and roll movie. Like, we're going to do like a little bit of the talky bits in between, like all that other stuff.
Yeah, those are all the quiet bits in between the guitar solos.
Yeah, it's just like he absolutely was the perfect person to direct this film. And it's so odd because originally he didn't want it. No one wanted to do it. Tom Cruise didn't want to do it. Val Kilmer didn't want to do it. Everyone had to be, the only people that really were like, oh my God, yes, I will kill to get this made, was Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer. Which is a quote. That's an actual quote. When I think it was a screenwriter sent it to Don Simpson, he got a phone call.
Don Simpson called him and went, I need you to hear this. I will fucking kill to make this movie.
That's an actual quote.
I will kill to get this movie made. Just picturing him fucking like sitting in his goddamn like penthouse apartment holding two golden guns with a fucking plate of cocaine like he's Castor Troy. Like, that's how I envisioned that being set.
Was also the era when movies were absolutely made by coke.
Woohoo!
I mean, it's just so obvious.
Plot was fucking loose. It wasn't that important to follow the events of the story, but shit looked fucking cool. Yeah. It had a lot of energy and great music.
Yeah, the fucking music, the guitar solos, just like on a close-up, a romantic close-up. It's absolutely so cheesy. It's fantastic.
Have such a bone to pick with this movie. Also, I do have a note in my notes that I took about the movie that literally just says, Mick, did you get a hard-on when you saw her car? Because as soon as I saw her just like drive away, I was just like typing that shit out.
Nice.
I said that out loud to my sister. I was like, I bet Mick got a hard-on for this car. She says, I don't want anyone to know I've fallen for you. And then I said, I don't believe you, bitch. No one here does. And then I had this discussion with my sister while we were watching the movie. I was like, do you believe her? Because I don't believe her. I don't believe that she's in love with him.
Yeah.
It feels like it just came on like really fast and like she like almost like she dumped out her beautiful, gorgeous brain and was just like, oh my God, you know how to handle an airplane like no one I've ever seen. Holy shit, put yourself inside me. That's what it felt like. And I was like, that's crazy.
I think you're
crazy. This woman has a PhD and she's like, I just don't want anyone to know that I've fallen for you.
Yeah, this movie is so written by men. Like,
hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, it is. Like, friggin' playing with the boys.
It's so laughable by just like, the boys, female, they're caricatures. They're not characters.
Boys.
They are caricatures.
Boys.
And
yeah, I just had a good time with this movie.
Yeah, I mean, we all did. Yeah, but it's like, it's not without. It's like part of the enjoyment is just how like bad it is in certain aspects.
Really really interesting too, though. Like, you know, there's certain things that like men value in each other, and you know, it's looking good to each other. Like the assets that you have, like your car or things, or your house or things like that. So I think it's very interesting that they give her this car that, you know, anybody that's like a car enthusiast would be like, oh hell yeah, you know, right? But they also put her in like the classic like 80s silhouette, which is like a more boxy fit, which is, you know, kind of supposed to be more establishing women as less feminine, more in power kind of thing. But then they juxtapose it with having her just like fall to her knees for Maverick like right away. So they're giving her like this whole like kind of look of like the illusion of being like a really powerful woman, and yet willing to fall to her knees for a man for the right man at any moment, which, you know, I don't know. That's very interesting.
Well, I would argue that it's because we don't have time to spend with the will they, won't they between Maverick and, oh my God, Kelly McGillis' character, whose name I am forgetting.
Charlotte.
Sure, whatever. We don't have time.
Her call name in the thing is Charlie.
Charlie, yeah. We don't have time to spend with a will they, won't they between them.
Man's name.
Because there is a much more important will they, won't they happening between Maverick and Iceman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh my God.
A movie. Technically it like ends with like, oh, our final moments are, oh, Maverick and Charlie have made up. She's back at the bar. They're going to get back together. That's not the emotional payoff of this movie. The emotional payoff is a line that Val Kilmer desperately did not want to say.
Which you can see it in his face when he does it.
Which is, you can be my wingman anytime. Bullshit. You can be mine. That is the emotional payoff of this movie.
That is so not something Iceman would ever say.
But he needs him. He's fallen in love and he's got to tell him.
Okay. Can I just say, so I didn't watch this movie like growing up as a kid. I knew my dad really liked it, but I never really watched it growing up. I watched it really for the first time when I was like a teenager or going into my 20s. I mostly had just watched Tom Cruise in Cocktail over and over and over again. That was the movie that me and my dad just like threw on whenever we wanted to watch a Tom Cruise movie, or Jerry Maguire. So I don't know. I don't know why I got off on this tangent. God damn it.
It was about Iceman. We're talking about Iceman at the end.
It was about Iceman.
How
Yes.
they're gonna kiss.
That's it. The first time that I saw this movie, I thought that Iceman was such a fucking wet blanket. And maybe I am just more mature now, but like I was watching this movie and I was like, damn, everything he's saying is correct.
Yeah,
Actually,
absolutely.
everything he's saying is right. You should be safer. You should, you know.
But goddamn it, he's a Maverick who plays by his own rules.
Honestly, in Top Gun Maverick is Hangman. He's the guy that's going to fucking leave you high and dry. He's the one that can't be trusted. He's fucking reckless and he's fucking selfish. Iceman, in this, I'm so with you. I was like, as I'm watching the movie, and he's like the mean guy, everything he's saying is like, you're being like, dude, it's not your flying. It's just your whole fucking attitude. Like, he's literally like, look, I recognize he's being mature about it. He's like, I recognize your skills, but you're just, you're letting your fucking ego get into it. Like, which fucking side are you on? Ours or the bad guys? And everything he says is right. You're being reckless. Hey, that time you were showboating with the MiG-28, what were you doing? Or what was Hollywood doing?
I will say that I feel like Iceman's ego is part of the reason that they end up in that accident.
Oh, for sure. And he is definitely, like, genuinely... Yeah, because he should have peeled off at that point. He doesn't have the shot.
Yeah, it reminded me of a racing film.
He was just hanging on, like, way too long because he wanted the points.
Right.
Because he wanted to be Top Gun.
I think he is, like, you know... Obviously, he's genuinely kind of fucking jealous of Maverick, and like the whole scene where they're in the briefing and he goes, "Bullshit!" Like that is showboating and bullying in its own right,
which was improvised.
Yeah, this is what I want to get into. Thank you. Val Kilmer was actively fucking with Tom Cruise throughout the production of this movie to try to create an animosity between the two of them. So the guys working on this movie had talked about how this whole production was basically a giant fucking party funded by Bruckheimer and Simpson. Basically, if your name wasn't Tom Cruise, you were partying 3 days a week. And like everybody would all the guys would hang out and fucking party and get wild. But Cruise would sometimes hang out with everybody. And when he was hanging out with everybody, Val Kilmer would not hang out. And then vice versa, Cruise wouldn't be there. And it was a choice that was kind of started by Kilmer to try to build like an animosity between the two of them.
Yeah.
And apparently there was one day where they were doing like a rehearsal at like a football field, I think.
Yeah.
And Val Kilmer like bought this big case of wine as a gift for Tom Cruise and like brought it out with them to the middle of the football field. And it was, I think, like a pretty hot day. And everyone slowly realized that the reason Val Kilmer bought this like crate of wine was so that he could make Tom Cruise have to carry it back. And like sweat and toil and like drag behind everybody else. So that animosity that you're feeling in the movie is being cultivated behind the scenes by Val Kilmer, who was like, yeah, Tom was just like the sweetest guy and I was just fucking with him.
That's so funny. I have a question too, though. Oh, wait, no, go ahead, Mick.
Well, I was really quickly, I was going to add, though, on the opposite side of that, Tom Cruise, we often talk about how he's, well earned of the title, the world's greatest movie star, or one of them. And we've talked about how he's kind of almost single-handedly saved movie theaters with the, how he didn't blink, he didn't release Top Gun Maverick during COVID or on streaming. He waited until everything was open again to then just take everything over and make a huge box office success. He has to personally finance and put up front money for the insurance on all of these movies because he otherwise it can't get insured. And then that rant that got leaked from him talking about how all of this is riding on us to fucking make this movie.
Yeah, from Dead Reckoning.
From Dead Reckoning. If you watch something I learned behind the scenes from this first film with Top Gun, something that he apparently took on a burden of in the making of this, all the way back to the movie that made him a star, was there was Michael Ironside who played Jester. He was saying that at one point he could really read on Tom Cruise's face that he was under a lot of stress and had a talk with him. And Tom Cruise basically kind of said, yeah, there's... I really need this to work.
Yeah, this has got to work.
This has to work. And so while Val Kilmer and all of the boys are like having a great time with the two guys that really should also be caring about the movie, Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson. Not that they don't, but they do it in their own way. Tom Cruise was new to this, being number one of a huge film like this, and so he was taking on a lot of emotional burden, knowing, and he was talking about how much money the studio has in this, how much money the producers have in this, and he was. This whole time that he is a hero of the film and on screen, he's thinking about the mechanics, the machine of it, what this means for the box office, what it means for the audience, how they're going to respond to it. So ever since basically the inception of his stardom, he's a great producer.
Yeah, it makes sense that he has, he now produces every single thing that he's in.
He basically
has incredible longevity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The dude's 62 now.
Yeah.
I mean, just in general, I was even looking at like a bunch of the movies that I've seen of Tom Cruise over the years. I mean, like I had to kind of do catch up on 80s movies, but like The Outsiders, Risky Business. Obviously I've seen Cocktail, but then like he was in Michael Mann's Collateral in 2004. He was in The Last Samurai. You know, like I haven't seen Magnolia or Vanilla Sky, but I've heard he's really good in those two.
He is fucking incredible in Magnolia.
Born on the 4th of July.
Still haven't seen it.
Eyes Wide Shut.
I haven't either, but it's also like one of those ones that's like, wow, you know, like it's so crazy to see him be like, I've seen him in Cocktail, so I know like he's a good looking guy, you know, but then when I saw him in Risky Business last year for the first time, I was like, that's a fucking movie star being born. Yeah. You know, because like I saw him in The Outsiders with his little snaggle tooth, you know, I'm like, you're adorable, but like, you know, you don't look like a movie star just yet, you know, but you see him in Risky Business and you're like, that kid's going somewhere. He just has like the right charisma, but it's not just about the charisma. It's about, he has passion for movies
it's
and
talent.
like he wants
talent.
to do different things than just his persona, you know, or whatever. Which so many people get away with just doing their persona in movies.
Ryan Reynolds.
We can definitely say that, like, you know, there are perhaps some things that Tom Cruise is incredibly passionate about that we maybe don't love. And perhaps that passion has led to some great evil behind the scenes. But you know what? Fuck it. This is an episode on a Tom Cruise movie. We're singing his praises today. His passion for movies and like the way he has gone about building his career, I think is so fucking fascinating because you have kind of, in my mind, like 3 distinct eras of Cruise.
Yes.
Number 1 being kind of his initial like ascendancy to movie stardom, kind of leading
being
up to his heartthrob era, leading up to like Top Gun or Cocktail.
Right.
But then you get him being like, okay, I'm going to work with great older actors and I'm going to work with the best directors I possibly can. Yeah. I'm going to do The Color of Money with Martin Scorsese and I'm going to learn from Paul Newman.
Yeah.
Like
that's a good movie.
I still haven't seen that. I'm going to, you know, work with, as we say later, like Michael Mann. I'm going to
Stanley Kubrick.
Work with, like Stanley Kubrick. I'm going
Oliver
to make
Stone.
sure that I work with Stanley Kubrick. Oliver Stone. Eventually, kind of towards the end of this period, he links up with Steven Spielberg. And then after that, and I guess kind of part and parcel with it once he does the first Mission Impossible, that's the first movie he produces.
Fucking Brian De Palma.
He hires Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
He gets John Woo for the second one. Like he's working with auteurs and he is like learning from them as he kind of ascends into his like final phase where even though he's not directing movies and of course like Macquarie is a massive creative voice, it has finally reached this period where he's like this mega producer and he is the kind of primary creative force on all of his projects, taking, you know, decades and decades of learning from the best actors and directors in the film industry with him to create, you know, the greatest action franchise of all time.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, it is like so commendable and like impressive his just like honestly psychopathic commitment to making great films.
Yeah, you know, so often you hear people say, oh, you know, I love movies. But when Tom Cruise says, I love movies, you really believe him.
To like a frightening degree.
Like in a way
like
where
it scares
it's like,
you a little.
Yeah, where it's like, I love movies. But when he says, I just love movies, it's almost like, I don't know if I understand how complex and passionate that simple statement is coming from him. Because now, after he had his kind of public... meltdown is not the right word, but
once people realized he
became a bit of a pariah.
Yeah, Scientology is a malignant cult with the birth of the internet, and
He had the whole Katie Holmes thing.
Yeah,
with the Oprah
the
couch.
jumping on the
Oprah's-
couch and the abandoning of his child.
Yeah, it was.
I abandoned my
The
child.
abandoning of his child, or is it that
abandoned my boy!
she just took the kid away?
There was.
A little
She
column, a
took
little
the kid
column.
across state lines so that he couldn't see her anymore.
There was a while where he was actually, he was poison. He was boxed off with poison. And then, as you said, like he comes back and he does these fantastic things. He fucking squeaks out Edge of Tomorrow, which is a great sci-fi film that not enough people talk about, with Emily Blunt. I was talking about this with Zach the other day, when he comes back, and not only he's working on the greatest action franchise, Mission Impossible, but he comes back and he does Top Gun Maverick. I look back on my list of top 10 movies that year, and honestly, one of the picks that I am most proud of having that on my top 10 was Top Gun Maverick. Because when I rewatched that movie, I adore it. I think I prefer the stakes. I just really love the mission of Top Gun Maverick. I love everything about that.
I haven't rewatched it since I saw it in theaters.
I actually try not to weep during the main secret plane test in the opening. I absolutely adore that movie. But having said that, I do agree with both of you that it doesn't look as good as Top Gun. And in this weird way, while I definitely prefer the mission and you get that catharsis so much stronger in Maverick, the fact that Top Gun just kind of is a sports movie about ego and a guy finding himself and his true talent and having, in a way, lower stakes is almost like more fun. I don't know. They're so different in a weird way.
Yeah, I think Top Gun Maverick pulls off the thing that a lot of, again, legacy sequels, years later sequels try to do, where it's like, now we're gonna take this thing a little more seriously. Years have passed. There's a little more weight on this thing.
Well, with age comes wisdom. I mean, that's a part of it.
Yeah, but I think that oftentimes when franchise sequels try to do that,
I do
it
agree
is like interminable. Like the fact that a movie I've not seen, so maybe I'm being a little unfair, but the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer having this kind of Spielberg wonder sheen and this reverence anytime it shows you something from the original Ghostbusters. And it's like, Ghostbusters is a movie where Dan Aykroyd gets his dick sucked by a ghost and his eyes go cross-eyed. Like, what are we fucking doing here? So I will say that Top Gun Maverick, to its credit, pulls off that move better than just about any legacy sequel I've ever seen. But I do prefer the fun of the first movie. I will say the one aspect that I do think Maverick looks better with is the actual plane, choreography and geography.
And the cockpit footage, too.
Yes, that's all, obviously you're shooting on better cameras.
And it's real, too, an actual plane.
Better technology.
And you're also, with CGI, you're able to stage these sequences lower to the ground and closer to mountains.
Right.
And that provides more of a sense of direction and scale.
But having said that, I do agree the choreography, it's easier to read. And again, having these 4K IMAX cameras in an actual cockpit of an F-18 looks beautiful, because how the fuck is it not? But the choreography of the dogfighting in Top Gun is being shot by the direction of Tony Scott. And it just looks fucking sexy.
It's not as visually clear, but the shots are
my God.
fucking...
I mean, I guess if you're a plain person, it's doing it for you, right, Mick?
I mean, it fucking is. I mean, there's this one shot.
Having just worked... I can't believe I ever brought this up on this episode. Having just worked a job where I was camera operating, filming planes, This movie, maybe that's another reason why this movie played a little better to me, because the footage they did capture of these planes is fucking impressive.
Incredible.
Because it is hard to capture that shit, and I was filming, like, you know, little fucking, like, biplane, like, you know, personal use planes. I wasn't trying to capture military jets.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful, because in the behind the scenes, you know, Tony Scott is talking about, you know, you need because he partly why he got this gig was not just because of The Hunger, which Jerry Bruckheimer, Dom Simpson were a fan of, but he had also shot this famous Saab commercial. It's a car commercial, and it was something that Saab did in its marketing that really got people to pay attention to it as a car, was that they compared it to jet fighters. Because Saab, at one point in their history,
also built jets,
which is funny because by the time the commercial came out, they hadn't done that in 30 years. But they were playing on nostalgia, and they were playing on their legacy as a company. The person that shot that commercial was Tony Scott. He was one of the only directors that has shot things with jet fighters. So he knew, and he talked about it while shooting the movie. He's like, you have to have the right lenses. You have to have the right focal length. You need to be looking into the sun, or you just to get those silhouettes, something that he got in an argument with the aircraft carrier captain.
Paid the captain of the aircraft carrier $25,000 of his own money so that the guy would turn the aircraft carrier back around for the light.
For the light, for magic.
Because it was it was a functioning military aircraft carrier they're shooting on. Like, they didn't shut down operations.
But yeah, Tony Scott, he just fucking knew how to capture this stuff just so well. And there's this one fucking shot, I love it. I think it's the last big dogfight when it was right before you get that tail spin after the jet wash. But right when you have the MiG-28s, which are actually just American trainer F5s that are disguised, they're painted black to look like bad guy airplanes. There's 4 of them.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you explaining this.
There's 4 of them, and then the jet fighters, they come in, and right then we're like, all right, let's begin, and all of the F4s just go. You know that shot? Where they like
yes,
where they all go in different
this
directions.
Is a visual medium.
It is a visual medium.
Mick just gestured with his hands, kind of doing some slippery, snaky, like S motions.
Slidey, opposite direction going.
Slider is the right term.
Yes.
They go in all different directions, and they just fucking scatter. And yeah, it's just fucking. I love the choreography of it. It looks so good.
Alexis, I feel like you've been waiting to say a thing for a while.
Yeah, go for it.
You know, I just had to let you guys get through all of the technical aspects of it before I brought it back to characterization.
Which, by the way, the team referred to as the B story.
The B story.
Yeah, anything shot on the ground, they nicknamed the B story.
That's so funny. I don't know. I think I had a higher appreciation. I don't know if it's just because I've seen Maverick since this point, because I remember last year before Maverick came out, I was like, oh, let's rewatch Top Gun. So me and my sister and my dad, we all rewatched Top Gun, and then we watched Maverick when it came out. But now that I've seen Maverick, and I think it's just it's really interesting seeing Maverick as a character, full circle. Contextually, if you've never seen the movie, he's kind of almost acting out because he does not. It's always been unclear whether or not his father was considered a good pilot because of how his career ended, because his plane disappears during this dogfight or this mission, but it's so classified that he doesn't actually know what happened, but he's treated in a certain way because of it. He's denied access to the academy. They mentioned that towards the beginning of the movie. And so he has this attitude of almost like he needs to show off and just kind of act like he doesn't care about what anybody thinks. Because I don't know, maybe he's kind of afraid of, because he clearly looked up to his father, right? So he's
Yeah.
afraid of what people think of his father. And I don't know, there's something very vulnerable. And I think that is kind of what's interesting about his character is that, there's all this machismo in the movie, right? And there's something vulnerable about being earnest and trying to do your best at your job, and putting yourself out there in that way. And I think losing Goose is like his, obviously it's like it separates him from being like a young man into being a man, because he has that real sense of his first loss. And I think it makes him appreciate the value of life in a way that he hadn't before. And of course he loses his gusto or whatever momentarily, because Goose was his only family that he had left. And so that's why, I don't know, like, obviously I thought that it was fucked up in Maverick that he, like, denied the kid, like, applying for the academy or whatever, but he did it because, like, the mother. That's right. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Meg Ryan's character, promised that if you have the ability to control whether or not he's in, like, you cannot let that happen. And so he doesn't tell him about that so that he's the bad guy and not the mom, which was also a heroic
very
thing
interesting,
to do.
though. Feels out of character for her because in this movie, she tells Maverick very specifically, Goose loved flying with you, but he would have flown without you.
Yeah.
That Goose loved flying so much. He loves it so much with you. But even if you hadn't been there or even if you were gone, he would still go on, So I think it's a little slightly out of character, but people change over time, whatever. But yeah. I don't know. How's the B story for you guys? What do you guys think of the B story?
I think that both of these movies are unironic Starship Troopers. These are movies about young men becoming hardened fascists, and we, end with a cheery "we won" after a scene of violence against a faceless enemy who we're not supposed to empathize with.
Yep.
And now that our young heroes have become killing machines and have learned that loss is just something you deal with and move past. Now they can truly become the effective fascists that they were born to be.
Which is why propaganda was our big topic for today.
It is hard to listen. I particularly this movie is like it's so fun, but it is like, especially with the presence of Michael Ironside, it is eerie and like I did on this viewing while having like maybe the most fun I've ever had with this movie. I just had this eerie feeling of like, oh. Yeah, this really is like the movie that Verhoeven is sending up with Starship Troopers.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it is 100%. I mean, that's a thing. Like with the military's involvement comes their approval.
Yeah,
like they have to sign off on everything, and so it's shaped within the image of the defense industry. And the
military was very happy with this movie.
Of course, it's a recruitment tool.
Yeah, the naval recruitment shot up after this came out,
and I'm not surprised. It made it look cool, and that's the whole fucking point of it, really.
Yeah, it fucking did.
Yeah, it's like.
And it does make it look very cool.
It does make it look very cool.
And also, the Navy's never beaten the gay allegations.
That's,
No. Side note, during the infamous volleyball scene, I turned to my sister and I said, look at them. None of them are wearing sunscreen. I bet you they're all wearing tanning oil. They're going to look like leathery dog shit in about 30 years.
You say as Tom Cruise still looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah, because he doesn't actually live that life. I bet you that man does wear sunscreen.
Yeah, I bet he's, like fucking, I don't even know. I don't even know what kind of health regimen he's on at the Celebrity Center.
That man's had some sort of he's had some work done, something, you know.
Yeah, he's free of his thetans.
My favorite thing though is like imagining these men like in their like 60s when they look like leathery pieces of dog shit, is that they will reminisce so hard about when they looked this good. They'll be like, you should have seen me when I was 25 years old. I was a god.
Alexis?
Every woman was falling down on her feet, on the floor to get a piece of me.
Alexis,
Yeah.
you are nailing almost exactly what maybe my favorite interview in the entire behind the scenes on this. Rick Rossovich, he's a fucking gas. He's so funny.
Which one is he?
I believe he's Hollywood.
No, he's Slider.
Slider. He's the
Slider,
guy who's
okay.
like doing the like
He's-
muscle poses during the volleyball game. He's Iceman's partner in the
Rio.
volleyball
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
He's the Rio.
He's the Rio?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he during his interview, he's like, I mean, listen, I don't take care of myself like I did back then. He's still looking pretty good, but he's like, I don't take care of myself like I did back then, but I'll always have that scene. Can't take that away from me.
Yeah, because he was talking about how he was very aware. He once they told him like this will be played with music and it will be in slow mo, it'll be montage. He knew exactly what to do. That's why he's just doing all of this flexing and posturing.
He was like
It's
hamming
so
for the
80s,
camera.
like Muscle Beach.
Yeah.
Yes, he was hamming for the camera this whole movie. In the like final scene on the aircraft carrier, when like everyone's walking behind Maverick, he like turns around to face him. He's in front of Maverick, and he like turns around so that his face can be seen by the camera. He really seemed like he was one of the wilder guys on this set. He got kicked off of the aircraft carrier.
Wait, guys, I just had an idea. Top Gun spoof directed by Luca Guadagnino.
I mean, why make it a spoof? Just make the third
just
one.
make a third one,
Just
yeah.
make the third one, Luca. I want to see.
I'm like, we're
show
gonna
me-
see full-on ding-dongs in the fucking locker room.
show me the actual thing filtered through the gaze of a gay guy.
I want to see Top Gun through the eyes of an actual gay man. I need it now.
I don't think Tom Cruise is ever letting that happen, but God, I wish he would.
Technically,
I wish he would
listeners,
too. But
if
that's why I was like, oh, it should be like a spoof, like something very similar, but like it has that exact fucking energy of like performative masculinity.
If you want to watch a spoof of Top Gun, watch Hot Shots starring Charlie Sheen,
Who really wanted to be in this movie?
really wanted to be in this movie. It's actually pretty fucking funny. That's
Okay.
a good one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but my little anecdote about Rick Rossovich, he didn't say that he was drinking, but I think he was probably drinking at this time. He was like staying on the aircraft carrier and like saw some signage on the carrier that like alluded to nuclear stuff. He was like, I don't want to stay in the room with the fucking nuclear signage. So he found a different cot and fell asleep in it, and then was awoken by like an officer being like, hey, this is my bunk. You need to get out of here. And Rick Rossovich was like, listen, you can climb in with me, but I'm not getting out of this bunk.
That's crazy.
Which fucking rules.
Yeah, and was reprimanded by the captain.
Yes, he was
apparently.
reprimanded by the captain, did something else that caused problems, and then was asked to leave the aircraft carrier and got helicoptered off.
Why is the bar night called Animal Night? You know, the sign outside of the bar when the movie like opens,
Yes.
like after they get to Top Gun, it says Animal Night. What is Animal Night about it? Is this like a military theme I don't understand?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Unclear.
Unclear for sure. I just want to know, why is the graduation ceremony of Top Gun being held at the local YMCA?
Because
did
it's fun to stay there.
Did anyone else find it odd that location choice?
No.
Because
I didn't know, but maybe they spent their whole budget on the planes.
Yeah, every time I watch the graduation scene, I'm like, they're right like on the edge of a pool at like some cheap ass YMCA place. It's just like
feels like we're incorporating another Village People song we've got in the Navy.
Maybe it's just part of the base. Like maybe it's just the rec center of the base.
Yeah, they wouldn't host the graduation of the top gunnery pilot school in the world on the edge of their swimming pool. Just like part of this is part of the allure of this film is like some of it looks so good, but then there are other bits like that are just dog shit. Like the classroom, and they talk about this behind the scenes.
The classroom's awesome.
It looks awesome, but it's literally just chairs set up in a hangar with a chalkboard.
Yeah, and a giant fucking American flag and a bunch of planes in the background.
Half-assedly just like flying in the wind.
That's
it's
so
just
funny.
like it's so cheap. It's so quick. It's
I'm
very
so
odd.
distracted by the men, which you do not. I don't. Do you catch me saying that often? I guess you do.
Yes.
I was going to say you don't catch me saying that often.
Every
single
was
episode.
completely
That's your whole
inaccurate.
thing.
Yeah,
Anyways,
all the damn time. It's the men and the redheads. That's all we hear about.
Here's the thing. I don't want to have sex with any of them, but I'm incredibly distracted by their presence every time they're on screen. I cannot even tell that anything else is dog shit about the scene because I'm just looking at them look at each other.
And that's how you know the movie is cooking.
Yeah, watching their like Navy aviator consultant, him like arguing, why would we like do it in this hangar? Yeah. It's like, because it fucking looks better. Like it does. It's right. I don't think it looks cheap. I think it conveys, information visually.
It looks expensive because there's a fucking $1 million jet behind them. That's the thing. It's why it doesn't like look cheap. It's just like the little details like that. It's not like again, I want to bring us all down to earth here a little bit. Where, yes, this is absolutely a good movie.
I'm flying high.
But we need to recognize
I'm in the danger zone, buddy.
That this movie is like
good.
It's good, but it's bad.
Maybe great.
It's bad, but good. Right? Like
I don't know, man. I'm kind of in my Zach, Top Gun is good bag.
Let's talk about the sex scene.
I was going to bring that up right now. I want to know, because you guys are always talking about how there's not enough sex in movies these days. How does this sex scene rate for you guys?
It's terrible.
For me,
it's terrible.
Cheesy as fuck.
The music is awful.
I'm just like, okay, we get it. Missionary. All right, great. Okay.
We're talking missionary. We're talking the one where I'm on top and she's on the bottom. We're talking missionary.
The slow silhouette of vaguely suggesting intimacy that isn't there.
I like it.
Of course you do.
I like it. Think of it. Name a more iconic sex scene in a movie.
Napoleon.
No, iconic. I set him up, he knocks him down. But no, like name a sex scene that's more in the general cultural consciousness than the sex scene in Top Gun.
Okay, I would argue that I don't know if there are like iconic sex scenes, because if I think of iconic sex scene, I would never think of this.
I would always think of this. I think that this is like, if you asked the average person who's older than us, a little older than us, what is like the most iconic sex scene in a movie, I think they would say Top Gun, because this movie, this sex scene has been. I still think it's Top Gun, because this scene has been like recreated and referenced and parodied so much.
Yeah, not
like,
because it's good.
I don't know. I think it's effective.
It's
parody because it's bad.
I think Business is really up there though, because like it's almost like it's his fantasy come to life, and the wind literally blows the French doors open when this girl and him start like really going at it. She's like literally a prostitute.
Yeah.
But like I remember watching VH1 when I was younger, and they did have like a top 10 most iconic sex scenes. And I do remember that the one from Risky Business was in there because I've always remembered that scene, even though I hadn't seen the movie.
I would bet you Top Gun's on there too. Anyways,
I don't think it was.
It might be iconic, but it's not good. Zach, what are you talking about?
I like it. I think it's fun.
Why do you like it? Why? Why though?
It looks good.
That looks good. Yeah, Zach, come on. You're doing a bit.
Okay, come on.
doing
I'm
a
playing
bit.
devil's advocate a little bit.
That's a bad scene.
This was a pickup.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
They were like, oh, we actually like never see the two of them consummate their relationship. We've got to put that in there.
Yeah,
but it's memorable, and I think
it's memorable.
It does its job.
Here's another thing that bugs
I like
me.
it.
Here's another thing that bugs me. But and again, as a piece, it's hilarious and I love it. But when after they consummate, right? And so he is being they're in class and she's talking about a maneuver that Maverick has done, and he's using it as an example of something that was lucky and paid off, but this is not how you do it. So the only thing that we can conclude is that you don't do this again. And so Maverick, who is still obviously a boy because of the way he reacts to this.
This is before they have sex.
This is after.
No, I thought this was before because this is, I think, the scene that leads to like the chase where she says, "I'm falling for you," which then leads to the sex scene.
Is it after?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is after they had their date then.
Yes.
Okay. So it's after, excuse me. So this is after they have their date, but now there's something happening between them, right? He feels that she is now probably a little bit of some property. This is who she is. So then she uses him as an example and basically just fucking rips his ego apart. No one else can really pick up on it. They're just saying like, oh yeah, it's funny that she is giving him legit criticism that he needs to fucking hear because he's so fucking reckless. He storms out. And she's like, oh, Christ, okay. Like, all right, yeah, clearly his feelings are hurt. And is trying to chase him down. And is saying his name repeatedly. And he's ignoring it. He's doing this like...
he's like revving his engine.
And literally, he gets on the bike. And he starts revving his engine. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And then fucking drives off. And then I'm just like, guys, like...
This woman literally chases after him.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, please stop. Please.
Yeah, what are you
doing?
Doing?
Did you see him put those sunglasses on and smile at her?
It's just like
I get it a little.
When she invites him, he's been like fucking making comments, and then she has the audacity to actually write her fucking address down for a fucking random ass student who tried to hit on her already. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine, whatever. Fine. That's cool. Then he goes and he plays volleyball, and then he's late to his fucking dinner with her. He gets there, and then he's like, "Can I take a shower?"
Yeah, and you can't do whatever you're doing.
He was busy playing with the boys.
She says, "No, I'm hungry." But like,
as she's eating celery.
Yeah, like she's like literally eating like a fucking carrot while she's been waiting for God knows how fucking long for this man to show up for their date, and she's I fucking hate this shit. This is put women behind another 10 years. This fucking cool girl acting like, no, it's fine. Yeah, like doesn't matter. And then he's like, "Can I take a shower?" She's like, "No, I'm hungry. Let's go." Fucking drove me nuts. I was like, the fucking audacity on this man to ask if you could take a shower when you've made me wait 45 minutes to eat?
Kind of seems like we're all not understanding the value of playing with the boys.
Alexis, I am 100% with you on this. Maverick fucking drives me up a goddamn wall. He's driving everyone up a goddamn wall.
Yeah, because he's goddamn talented and cool and handsome.
When I get older, and again, I think, Alexis, you're talking about like, I don't know, am I just getting older or getting wiser? Every time the other people are like criticizing Maverick, I'm like, yeah, he's a dick.
Every time they're criticizing him, I'm like, I don't think they understand that he's the best of the best and he plays by his own damn rules. But I'm becoming more pro Maverick as I age.
But make no mistake, Alexis, the anger that you feel and the anger that I feel, is very similar to the anger that I feel watching Twilight. A movie that set things back for women. A movie
Oh my God.
that, make no mistake, make no mistake, that is a movie that is filled to the brim with fucking cheese, and I adore it.
Okay,
Just like I adore
Oh my
Top
God,
Gun.
yes. So
Alexis?
true. Except I don't know. I feel like Bella it's so fun because it's like, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad, but I feel like Top Gun wants you to take this girl seriously because she has a PhD, and then you're like, you gave her a PhD, but you filled her head with corn. What the fuck?
She was just too charmed by Maverick's fucking like rebel attitude
Oh my
and how he
God.
plays by his own rules.
And honestly,
that makes sense.
And I can't like to write.
I've
Honestly,
got no questions
I
about
can't-
that. That makes sense to me. That's
I
how
can't-
I'd be.
You
I
put
can't
this
deride
woman
the-
in a really incredibly masculine jacket. You put her in an incredibly
Her name
hot
is Charlie.
fucking car, and then you named her Charlie, and then her panties flew off when she fucking came into contact with Maverick.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense to
call
me.
bullshit.
I'm sorry. Why
Except
are
I
we
will
asking
say-
questions? That
I will
totally
say-
tracks.
Every single time I see Tom Cruise smile, I'm like,
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Look, honestly, I can't deride the sex scene like
I
that
can't deride
much
this movie.
because it is rated
I'm
PG.
deriding for this movie.
It is rated PG. PG
Zach.
for pagan guys.
Zach, I need to know. I feel like like when him and Goose are doing that singing part at the very beginning, it really just made me think of you and all the times I've gone to karaoke with you. I really feel like you're kind of a goose because you are a silly goose. Who would your Maverick be of your friend group?
I don't know. I don't think we've got a lot of Maverick material here.
I'm not saying in this room or in this podcast. I'm saying of all your friends you have, who would you be the eternal wingman for?
I don't know. I just don't know if I have a lot of Mavericks in my life.
Yeah, I don't know if Zach
True.
hangs
You're
out
all
with Mavericks.
you're all gooses.
I think it's we're kind of a gaggle of geese.
Yeah, it's a geese. It's a
You
gal.
are a gaggle of geese.
I think at best we maybe have a couple roosters in here. You
A
know.
gaggle of geese and one rooster.
Yeah, and it maybe pivots who the rooster is any given day.
That's so funny. Who's
Yeah.
wearing the rooster hat today?
I am glad you brought up singing. You know what I'm going to say? I'm wearing the rooster hat today because I'm driving this plane. Driving a plane? I'm not.
You're not driving the
plane.
plane.
No, I'm
You are
not.
clearly the Rio.
You might be the rooster today, pal.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we have danced around the iconic soundtrack of this film.
Yeah.
Not only does this movie have a fucking kick-ass score, but I love how this movie knows that it has several fucking killer tracks on the soundtrack. And another way that this takes an edge over Top Gun Maverick for me is that this is a movie that understands that when your original song is Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins, you play that shit every chance you get. Danger Zone plays like twice in the first 10 minutes. Danger Zone keeps coming back on the soundtrack, and I'm happy every time it shows up because Danger Zone is a good song. And I am surprised that I never heard it played at the air show that I worked at.
Yeah, that's
And I
fucked.
was a little upset. They played the Lady Gaga song from the end credits of Top Gun Maverick. Fuck off.
That's crazy.
Danger Zone.
I do love that
Where
song,
is it?
though.
It's
Yeah,
so
it's,
good.
But
it's
also,
not Danger Zone.
I have a video of me riding this two-wheel. It's not like a motorcycle, but it's like a smaller version of a motorcycle, and I posted it on my Instagram a year or two ago with the Danger Zone. I'm gonna send it to you so you can post it on the Instagram.
There it is. There
Hell yeah,
it is.
put it on the TikTok, Alexis.
Yeah.
was
You know
so
what?
funny.
I'm going to say something that might be a little sacrilegious, but I while I agree that Top Gun Maverick should have played Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone more than it did, I think Top Gun plays it maybe 1 or 2 times too many.
That's fucking sacrilege.
I know it is sacrilege.
That's sacrilege. You shut the hell up.
As I was watching it, I was like, okay, this song again? Like, in a way, it's almost like too much of a good thing.
Wow.
Yeah, but there's so many other good songs, though. It's like they got Take My Breath Away.
Yeah, which they
Sitting
also
by
play
the dock
several
of the
times.
Bay.
Yep. Great Balls of Fire.
What
Great
is it?
Balls of Fire.
Great Balls of Fire. It's Can't Stop.
You've
Can't
lost
Stop This
that love and feeling.
Yeah.
You've lost that love and feeling. Yeah, so such a good soundtrack.
I love that song.
Yeah, the pièce de résistance on this being a really good Top Gun watch for me.
Mm-hmm.
Stone Cold Sober.
Wow.
Stone Cold Sober watch.
How's it feel? That must feel, it's a first for a long time.
For Top Gun,
Yeah.
probably.
Wow.
I doubt that I have watched Top Gun without a couple of drinks during my adult life. And you would think that this would be a movie that you'd get rose-colored glasses on for or rosé-colored glasses. No. This is this great watch of Top Gun for me. I just sat down and watched it sober. Loved it. Loved it.
Good movie.
This is such a fucking fun movie. It is like an evil tool of the U.S. State Department, but goddamn it, it's so fun.
Yep.
Indeed. I would like to see you guys incorporate the line goose or blank, take me to bed or lose me forever in your daily life.
Yes.
I told my sister I'm going to start incorporating this, but then I was like, I don't want anybody to take me to bed. But you guys have partners, and I'm sure you would love for them to take you to bed. So I think you should start incorporating that iconic line in your daily lives.
I have news. I already have.
Hey, Mick.
Since viewing this film and doing this podcast. Yes, Zach.
You big stuff. Take me to bed or lose me forever.
Yeah, it works. It works. I'm going to take it
Show me the way home.
Sure.
Well, this has been a fantastic discussion about the fantastic film, Top Gun.
I did not expect this episode to be this long.
Yeah, me neither.
That's so funny.
Let's go ahead and
I mean, you
close
guys did
ourselves
talk
out
about
here.
the plane mechanics for a while.
We did talk about, but you have to.
There's a lot of we, and that was exclusively Mick.
You have to talk about this cool sports film that's all being set behind these fantastic machines.
Yeah.
Are there any final thoughts, any closing thoughts, any closing arguments that we would like to wrap up this episode?
Maybe I'll link in the show notes of this episode some of the plane footage that I shot, because that was a lot of fun. And I want you guys to see the planes that I captured
Nice.
myself.
Is that
Top
your
Gun, it's good.
Okay.
I love it. I love this movie.
Sick.
My takeaway from this movie, I feel like it's really in depth. I feel like every time I see an 80s movie, I just keep coming back to this through line in it. And that is bring back the 80s men jeans, because, oh my God, let me tell you, I really loved the emo scene pants of my age and era in high school, sure. But honestly, it's schlock. It's shit compared to the 80s Levi Wranglers era of that time. Like, holy shit. Everything's just like packaged perfectly, That's it. That's the tweet.
I mean, that's fair.
Go off, King.
That's fair. I will finish by saying, while this movie, again, it is a product of the military industrial complex, and is a this is a really icky film from the height of the Reagan era.
Technically, maybe an evil movie.
This is Reagan era politics gone wild. This is still a very, very fun movie, and features one of my favorite all time that guys, Michael Ironsides, and also shout out to a guy we haven't mentioned that I always love seeing, Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt's awesome in this movie.
He's great in this.
He's also very good in
The bald
Alien.
guy?
No, the guy with the mustache. The bald guy also fucking rocks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
He's
think
one of
he's
my favorite
hilarious.
ones.
I'd like to bust your butt, but I can't.
He's, oh my God. Zach, can you pull up the name? He deserves a shout out really quickly, but okay. Closing thought. Thank you, Alexis. Bring back really, really sweaty people. That was something that Tony Scott understands. When you make a movie, your characters have to be dripping with sweat, because how else am I not gonna understand that this is a really tense scene? Show me the sweat. He does it in Crimson Tide. He does it in this.
Loved talking to my sister during this movie and just being like, my favorite part about having worked in movies is knowing that in between takes, somebody would have come up and just spritzed them again. Maybe even
sweat.
tell them off. Is like, oh, was that too much? Oh, that wasn't enough to spritz them again.
It's not enough. It's never enough. What's his name?
James Tolkien.
Yes. Oh, dude, he's great.
Shout out to him.
He plays Napoleon in Love and Death, and he's hilarious, actually.
There we go.
But he's a really good that he's so good at shouting. Great. This is a movie just full of fantastic actors, and I'm just so happy that we covered a Tom Cruise movie.
There we go.
Happy 4th of July, folks.
Happy Pride Month. You know?
Yeah, I know.
I just think I'm proud of us. Tom Cruise, we've held off on him for 93 episodes. He deserved the big episode treatment.
Yeah, he did.
And God damn it, he got it.
We were really white knuckling it at that point.
Yeah. Now, next week, Alexis, do you have a pick?
Yeah, where is what's next on the marquee?
Oh, that's so funny. I'm like, what did I put in the group chat before?
Doesn't matter. What do you think?
Just tell us.
Oh, ugh. You know what? Too Fast, Too Furious.
Whoa!
Wow!
That's crazy.
There we go.
I could have made you guys suffer and made Zach watch Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, or made Mick watch Free Guy again. But
Hey.
I'm not that cruel.
Yeah, thank you.
But also, this
You're
is a
merciful.
revisit of a director we've already done. It's John Singleton, who we did.
That's
Boys
right.
in the Hood, so.
That's right. This is John Singleton in the schlock territory. We'd love to see it.
A 2003 film starring Paul Walker and Tyrese Gibson and Eva Mendes.
And Luda.
Yes, Ludacris also
Luda.
appears. Yeah, this is one of the Fast and Furious movies I haven't seen.
This is early Fast and Furious.
I've seen
That's so funny. I've seen this movie so many times.
Yeah.
I've seen Fasts 5 through 9.
You've never seen any of the classics.
No, I saved it.
You've never seen the best one, Tokyo Drift.
Listen, these
Tokyo
are all
Drift is
things.
cool.
These are all things that we can get to next week.
Honestly, I'm excited. This was a movie I watched. I think I watched Too Fast, Too Furious more than The Fast and the Furious. I think out of constant rotation, this was the one I went to the most.
I think this one's funner than the first one. I think the first one is more serious, and this one is, it's serious, but it's also like, it's got a lot better color, I love street racing.
Hell yeah. Well,
Where can we find it?
you can find it on Tubi and Peacock.
All
We're
right.
going from planes to automobiles.
I am having a good time right now.
And if you would like to find us, the Film Majors, on social media, you can find us at Film Majors Pod on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok. And you can subscribe to us on YouTube at the Film Majors.
Like,
the Film
comment,
Majors
subscribe.
Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on whatever podcatcher you're listening to us on. And we will see you next time in the Danger Zone.
Bye.
Bye.